Well, good evening, everyone. We thank you so much for joining us. I'm Christy Skinner, and I'm part of a small group called Africa Sustaining Angels. And we really are, our mission is just to raise funds for HRS True Hope that then go to support the self-sustaining initiatives for Mary and Shelter Children's Home outside Nairobi. So tonight, we're really excited to hear an update from Joel. We raised some funds in December, and now we're excited to see where those funds have gone and how they've been used. So welcome, Joel.
Well, thanks for everybody being here tonight. Christy, this is a great story, and we'll get to it in just a minute. But, our pastor at church jokes with us because we partner with our church and with our Mexico mission stuff that we do. And he's like, Joel can spend everybody's money. When it comes to doing mission work and helping other people, Joel's really good at making sure that money flows to the places that it needs to go. So when Christy says that they raised money at an event in December, we did really well, and we've done a really good job of making sure that money got put in a great spot. But thank you guys for being here tonight. Let me just give you a little background about HRS True Hope. The HRS are three families' last names: Holcomb, Cheremisu, and Raymond. We have been friends forever, and it all started with Hurricane Katrina and the need to put things in people's lives that the normal delivery systems couldn't do. So like if you had a refrigerator that you wanted to donate post hurricane, there isn't organizations that let you do that. So we saw a need, and we began to put together an organization. And literally when Hurricane Katrina hit, I spent the first 100 days serving in Gulfport, Mississippi, and in through New Orleans and that whole area. And literally it was triage. What could we do? Where could we help? What needed to be put where? And that started this entire endeavor. And we spent about a year serving in Gulfport, Mississippi. And as that transitioned back to what would be considered normalcy, we began to do stuff in Mexico connected to our church. And from the year after Hurricane Katrina till now, we have been doing things in Mexico. In fact, we do 2 things in Mexico in 2 different parts of the world. As far as deep south as you can go on the Pacific side, and then in the Piedras Negras area. So we've been doing that. And then Christy and I had a great conversation at a baseball recruiting camp that our kids were attending at Princeton. And she brought up this whole idea about Africa because the gentleman that was part of this organization prior to us, Discover the World, was retiring. And they were looking for a place to continue the efforts. And, the model that was here before HRS True Hope was got involved was child sponsorship. And as we began to look at that, as we transitioned to be the partners that were going to help the things that had already been started, we began to look at what really was necessary. And that child sponsorship mindset just didn't sit with the volatility of American money. And I really thought in my heart, and I prayed about this deeply, that sustainability is the only way to help folks really have authority over their own entity and not rely on the ebbs and flows of United States money. And so we began the process of completely flipping everything that Shelter Children's Home has ever done to this whole self-sustaining model. And thank you to Christy and so many folks in her world. We made great headway, and we're at about 72% right now of full sustainability, and that number varies just a little bit. COVID has been difficult, and we all know that. But the challenge in Africa is medical supplies aren't the same, nutrition's not the same, information's not the same. There's a whole bunch of people in a small area, and Shelter has really stayed very clean from having any COVID stuff until the kids had to come home from college and high school. And they had 4 or 5 kids test positive, and they already had a quarantine set up in order that to happen. And but that's been the challenge, is the kids that go to school automatically show back up, and then they go back to school, and then they show back up. So it's been this evolving thing, which the challenge there is food. And the budget and the money that we work with day in and day out counts that those kids are at school. So when 50 plus kids come home, the college kids come home, the high school kids come home, that has been one of the biggest challenges over the last 18 months, is that fluctuation of monies needed to do what was happening at Shelter. The other part of that is shelter was closed to the outside world for about a year. Not much came in except people going to get food and bringing it in. So we had animals that had been purchased. We had beehives that had been purchased that literally had to wait until the safety factor of outside people bringing COVID to facilities. So it pushed beehive project back, it put cow projects back, it pushed our solar project back. But in all of that, things began to thrive. And so I'm going to walk you through some stuff tonight. I'm going to start with school because it's one of the biggest needs that shelter has. But I'm going to start with school at shelter. They've hired a school manager, and the goal is to have, we're in a closing of a school year. So the new school year for 8th grade and under starts in July. And so the full school year term is July to June. And currently we have 48 kids outside of shelter that are paying to come to school at shelter. We have 86 of our own that are attending school at shelter as well. The goal, and this is the manager's job, is to have 150 kids from the outside, which makes that program self-sustainable. It makes all the teacher salaries sustainable. The manager is sustainable. The food, all of the stuff that involves the school at shelter will be sustainable at that $150 outside person mark. So we're super excited about that. And Mary is extremely confident that 150 person number will be met by July. And so I'll keep you guys up to date on that as we go. And then let's flip to high school. There are 42 kids currently at high school. 16 of them are locally supported. So that's people in the community, people that are involved in different parts of shelter. I know that some government officials are supporting a couple of kids. So it's a collaborative effect, and we're super excited that, in fact, the term that will be ending in September, a local entity took care of high school fees for that term for everybody. So anybody that wasn't covered under local support. There are 26 kids that are in high school that we support financially, and that bill was paid by an entity outside of shelter this year for this 3-month term, which was a blessing, and I didn't even know that was happening. Just to give you an idea, there's 3 terms in a year. At the high school level, they take a test in the 8th grade, and that kind of dictates what high school they get to go to. They will take another test their senior year in high school, and that gives them the offerings of which colleges that they get to apply to. So it's about a $12,000 to $13,000 number to send all of our high school kids to school that we're responsible for. And that number stays pretty consistent. It doesn't ebb and flow a whole lot. I'm anticipating that number to rise a little bit in the next coming years because we've got some bigger classes in that 1st, 2nd, and 3rd grade. So that number may rise a little bit, but right now, in the foreseeable future, that's a great number to shoot for. And then university, we're super excited. This is an interesting year. COVID has affected our university kids probably the most. We have our first graduate. His name is Zach, and he will graduate in August. We have 3 others that I forgot about when Chris and I were talking this week that will finish this fall, and all they will have exams to take. Currently, we have 15 kids at the collegiate level. We will only have 12 for the fall semester, but come January, we're going to have 22. There's 9 kids. There's 10 kids that have passed the exam to move on into that next setting. And our college kids do have multiple functions. We provide hostel housing. We provide a monthly allowance. We provide a cell phone. Depending on what they're going to school for, they may get a computer, and then their tuition. All of that encompasses that cost. And the cost, when you really break things down, there's 15 kids in college right now, and it's about $14,500 is about the semester cost to send somebody to school, or the total group, not one person. The total group gets to go to school for about that number. And so as we move into January, obviously that number is going to go up because we're going to have more kids going. And so that makes us super excited to have opportunities. The other part of college is we are connected. Mary has connected several students to local technical schools, and it's those kids that really have the applied ability with their hands. We've got a couple of kids that have special challenges, and college isn't a choice for them. So we've got 2 kids that are in technical school right now. And just to give you an idea, it's 3 semesters. So it's about a year and a half. And I didn't write the number down, but it was like $600 for both of them for the entire 3 semesters. Wow. So it wasn't a tremendous amount of money for that, which was super exciting that we could help Mary with that. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do, I got 2 pages of notes about projects that are going on that are evolving as we speak. And so I'm going to start with girls' dormitory renovation. We just finished a massive project of building a new boys' dorm, and which was super exciting, and it was an amazing experience to be there. And so we had some renovation to do for the girls until we get ready for the next project. And we have some things in the middle before that next dormitory gets built. But new roof, new windows, new doors, new flooring, new paint, new bedding on all of the beds. And we've got some videos of the girls moving in that I'll see if we can't get posted here pretty quick. But so that's all been done. That work has been done. So that renovation came out of part of the monies that was raised in December. The biggest project, thank you, Miss Barbara Holmes, is solar. And we raised the money, and then it took us forever to get the project started. And it was interesting because the company that we work with in Nairobi, it took them almost 120 days to get all the stuff to shelter. By the time that we paid part of the monies up front and to just get the equipment to shelter, and then COVID hit. And so it pushed everything back. But here's the cool thing. Everything in shelter is being run by solar.
Wow.
There's not a single building anywhere on campus, and any building to come in the future for the next 10 years that won't be run by the current solar system. So super, super excited about that. To give you an idea, that they buy electrical tokens in Nairobi, and that's, or they would be using wood to burn things. The savings on the solar is somewhere between $1,000 and $2,000 a month, depending on how many kids are home. And so it's a huge blessing. And Mary, when she and I talked about a couple of weeks ago, she said, the little things, our kids are cleaner. We have hot water all the time, and our kids' health is better because we have solar, because we have hot water. They bathe in hot water, and they are cleaner children because of what the solar project has. So for me, my background is sports medicine, sports nutrition. I'm like, yes, the health and wellness of kids are getting better because we've provided an opportunity that direction. So I can't, that
we didn't really, yeah. And we didn't really recognize that. I think, Joel, when we were looking at solar, it was more just how do we help? And at least in my mind, that really was a benefit that we didn't really understand.
Absolutely. And it gives me goosebumps every time Mary talks about it, because she's just giggly over it. And the fact that, she went 90 days without buying electrical tokens, and she's like, I hadn't even thought about buying electrical tokens. And that's just an expense that this goes off. I mean, it's huge in more ways than we can even count. And I think as the project exists longer, it's even going to have bigger ramifications that we haven't even figured out yet, because now it's available. And so it's more than we could have ever dreamed of. To partner with that, we have a project called biogas. What biogas is they put waste in this machine, and this machine produces gas. And so all of the heating, all of the cooking, all of that kind of stuff is being generated on facility with no electrical help, with no solar help. Their kitchen is cleaner, their bread ovens are cleaner. Everything that runs on gas, a natural gas mindset, is coming from our biogas facility. And the cool thing about the biogas facility, and it's one of the projects that I'll talk about at the end, but it's going so well, they have too much gas. And it's going so well, we now have a fertilizer that we didn't know that we were going to have. So the project that started 3 or 4 years ago is now going to turn into fertilizer for the farm. And we did not expect that. So there's a couple of things that we've got to add to the existing biogas facility to even make it even better. So biogas has been a huge blessing, because one of the things that if you've not been there at this point in time, the kitchen was black because they used wood. And so the smoke from the wood burning fire, the whole kitchen was black. So it wasn't very clean. And so convert everything to this gas project has made the cooks happier. It's made it a cleaner facility. There's not the carcinogens. It's just changed everything about how they prepare meals. And it's been amazing. Okay. Beehives. This is a cash crop. There's about 5% costs in the whole process of when we're looking at the bees. We currently have 115 beehives, and we are working with a bee expert. Mary is working with a bee expert in Nairobi specifically for her agricultural area. And based off of the land total, based off of the flower total, based off of the banana trees, based off the avocado trees, all that kind of stuff, the gentleman has said that the shelter can sustain up to 200 hives. And so we are going to be pursuing that piece to the puzzle. The second thing we're doing with the beehives is termites love wood. And so we're converting every storage. So if you can think about a beehive, it sits on a wood rack, and that wood rack has about 10 hives on it. We're in the process of taking those wood racks away and replacing them with concrete. And so you're going to see that in the projects part as we start talking about. He's also the expert of the area, has also added some flower vegetation. So Mary is working with the farm folks to make sure that all of those pieces are playing into to get the best honey possible. Our builder is going to be really sick of me by the time we're done with all the things we're doing at shelter, because when he promises something, I'm like this guy knocking on the door. So he's building a hut, what's called the beehive hut, down where the beehives sit on the very south side of the facility. That way the bees stay there. All of the extraction is there. That way there isn't any movement of the bees stay happier. And he's supposed to have that done this month. So hopefully that will happen. And if he doesn't, we'll just raise some more cane and we'll get that taken care of. One of the challenges we have with honey is our honey is young. And I didn't know this was a thing until a couple of weeks ago. You have to have mature honey to be certified. So we're in the process, have to come back and take a second sample. And if the honey is mature enough, then all of the paperwork is in, all of the stuff is in to get our honey certified. It just has to meet a maturity mark, and we're just waiting for that to happen. As an off the cuff, it takes about $150 to get a beehive. Each one of those new concrete stands is $750. So 10 beehives is $1,500, and
oh wow,
and $750 more puts them on a stand. So just give you an idea of what that looks like. Cows. Oh my goodness. We got cows coming out our ears. That project has just, Mary's having more fun with her cows than she even knows what to do with. We have current 12 cows. By September, we'll have 16. A group out of Chicago just donated another one. So we'll have a 13th cow come into facility once Mary finds the one that she wants. We have 4 mamas in calf motion. We just had a calf born last week. So currently we have 6 cows milking, and they produce about 180 liters a day. And we can sell milk for about 50 shillings a liter. That makes $90 a day, $2,700 a month is what that gross number is currently. That's what we're working on. We're watching what's going to happen with milk production, but that's a huge number because they produce milk. I mean, the cows are there to produce milk. They have special feed. They have a special silage pit. The cool thing that Mary has, because she's extremely well connected. A former governor has a large piece of property somewhere, and she gets all the hay that she wants. Beatrice, the lady that is now the chairman of the board, has a piece of property, and we're working on a partnership with her to do some things for a grass that's grown naturally that we can add to our silage. We have a hydroponics grass growing facility right next to the cow barn. So we're putting like 6 to 10 times the nutrient value of the grass into the feed that goes every single day. So we've got a really great project going. The manure and stuff gets put in the biogas facility. So we've got this sustainable mindset about what that project looks like. So we couldn't be happier with how that project's going. We have a bread project. We had some folks donate bread machines, and they make the best bread. It is awesome. And the goal is to sell it to schools in the area as a way to help pay for school costs for high school kids. That's part of this process. We have a water project, and Mary sells water. And that project's going to expand, we hope, with some things coming over the next 6 to 9 months. There's development that's happening around shelter, and there isn't water. So she's working on how to partner with some of the people in the area and sell water efficiently. That is a huge money maker because it doesn't cost us a whole lot because solar's pulling it out of the ground. So it's a win-win at shelter for that. Okay, the farm. Let me tell you, the goal at the farm is $10,000 income every month. I mean, that's the goal. We're not quite there yet. We're several $1,000s away, but here's what we're trying to do. We're selling baskets. We have an amazing crop rotation from a feeder bed into a bigger bed into the actual acre that things are going to be grown in. Tomatoes, onions, and potatoes are the big cash crops. And so we have an acre of each of those. We're going to put an acre of beans in this year, an acre of corn in this year. On a side note, Silas over at Burr in Eldoret has multiple acres of corn, and we are partnering with him and buying his corn at a lesser price in Eldoret and bringing it to Nairobi for the corn that shelter needs for all year long. And it tends to be 15 to 20 bags more than shelter needs. So it's an additional way for shelter to earn income by selling some of the excess bags that won't be used for food. Beatrice, the chairman of the board, has this great piece of property, and she and Mary are in the process of putting together a plan to grow barley. And beer is a big thing. And the breweries there have a difficult time getting quality barley. So Mary has been connecting with several people, and we're going to start with 10 acres of barley and see what that goes. So that could be a huge revenue producing piece that we don't know about yet. It's still a project under development. We have a couple of projects that we'll talk about at the end that we could use a couple of things for the farming project. But the best thing that's happened since we've started this project is there's somebody over bees, there's somebody over cows, there's somebody over the farm. There's not one person doing it all. There's segmented out people that have gone to training, are continuing training. People come in and help. It's not just what I think I know. I mean, there's an actual education process to make sure that we're staying on top of what's going on in the area. Just a couple of things that go with that. We have I don't know if any of you know this, we have an avocado farm. We have 400 avocado trees that have been planted inside of shelter, and we're about a year to 14 months away from our first crop. And avocados are cash. I mean, there's no expense other than picking them. You don't do anything to the tree. You just got to let it grow, and you just take care of it as it grows and pick them as they grow. So it's going to be a great crop because there's very little output to get the crop. And avocados in the area are a high seller. So we're super excited about what that's going to look like in a year. We also have an orchard project that was started when all COVID hit. And there's passion fruit, mangoes, oranges, and tomato trees are the 4 types of trees that are going to be grown in the orchard, and the kids are responsible for maintaining it. It's one of the projects that the kids have. There is also a hair salon and a beading project. They're making clothes and mats and beading stuff, things that I don't get. So there's 2 projects that kids are involved in, but the salon of braiding and hair and all of that kind of stuff, we bought some materials during COVID to make that project producible. So that's something that's happening at Shelter. We have a goat project. And the cool thing about the goat project, this is another kid-driven project. The cow's milk is being sold. Goat milk is being consumed by the kids at Shelter because it's higher in protein and higher in fat concentration. So it's a better milk source for the kids at Shelter. So the goat milk stays at Shelter. Okay, so that's the farm. Okay, so one of the things that Mary wanted everybody to understand is if you look back 3 or 4 years and you look at the health and wellness of the kids, it's night and day. The health of the kids, the sustainability of the kids, nutrition, they're being fed, they're sleeping better. They're not 4 or 5 kids to a bed. The improvements as this movement has progressed is only benefiting the kids in ways that we would never even dreamed of. And she said the wellness of our kids don't get sick, our kids don't have issues, and it's a multiple use facility. They've got kids that have mental issues, they've got kids that have HIV, not very many, but there is a couple, and they're treated like everybody else. A new child walks in, all of the kids get tested for HIV, just as a course of action. That way, the anonymity of someone that might have an HIV positive isn't stuck out like a sore thumb. And so they do some things, but the health and wellness of the kids, Mary said, I can't even begin to tell you how our kids look. And maybe Christy can help me find a picture from 5 or 6 years ago and pair it with a picture today and just see the difference in their faces and their skin tone. And I've just been super excited about that. Here's just a housekeeping thing. Mary's not getting any younger. And, one of the things that she and I have been talking about is how to continue this process after something does happen to Mary, or Mary's done, or, what's that process look like? And so Shelter is now being put into a trust. And the monies were donated by, a great friend of ours out of California. And it has a succession plan. It has multiple things in it that will guarantee that things that are going on at Shelter will continue to go on. And the board of directors has seen the document and have approved the document. And so that process is continuing. One of the things that we are praying about, contemplating, is a PR position. There's so much going on at Shelter, and but no way to get it out to the people in Nairobi. And so we're contemplating about what that would look like. And to be honest, we're looking for the money in the budget. We're looking for the money in a self-sustainable project. We already have the person. Her daughter would love to be that person because that's what her background is. What is her name, Christy? The oldest one.
I don't remember.
Rachel,
yeah.
Rachel's background, her education is in marketing and public relations. And so, it would be a huge connection to be able to, Mary's extremely connected politically. And some of the things they're doing, they've made waves this year. They've been to several commissions because the government just can drop kids off. And Mary's like, no, we can't take kids. And several homes have went with Mary to some political things to say, look, we got to have some rules. We got to have some guidance. We got to have some, here's what's going on. And it's not just all hunky dory to just at any given time, just drop new kids in. So there's a whole bunch of movements going on, and having a PR person would add a huge amount of value. So we're praying about that and really trying to find the money in a project that can sustain itself. So that's the update that I have, but I got some projects and I want everybody to know what's going on.
Okay.
If you've been to shelter, and if you haven't, I'm gonna see if I can paint a picture. You walk in the front gate and you walk up by the school, which would be to the right, and on the back side of the school is a toilet block. And that's the block of toilets have been there for as long as I've known, and that block of toilets have got to be replaced. The government has come in and said, that's got to go. You've got to do something about that. So a plan was put together by our construction guy, and I have the plan. I have the numbers, and I'm going to let you know what those numbers are. And so it's a project that we're going to put as a priority as this year continues. The toilet block's $48,000 because it's a septic type of system, and so it's a deep hole with all kinds of things that go with it, and it's not an easy thing to build. Looking at the drawings and looking at the details, it's going to take several months to put this new facility together. I have some questions about the numbers, and the construction manager will be more than happy to know that I have questions. But right now, that's what the bid has come in at, about $48,000. The second project that is a concern for Mary is staff housing. So if you came in the front gate, there's buildings to the left, and they kind of look like rundown shacks. They need to be upgraded. And what Mary would really like to do is take that entire block of houses out and get the staff down by down in the south end of the facility and build new facilities down there for the staff. The total for that, she wants to build 10 units just like there's now, and that's a $22,000 chunk of money. But what that does is clean the front gate up. It moves things away from the front gate. The second thing it does is it provides security on the south end of the facility. The farm is about 12 acres. And so it's a long way, it's a long distance, and just having people milling in that part of shelter will add a security net. 2 years ago, we put security cameras in all over the place, and Mary can view the entire facility from her office and from her house. And so that's been a huge blessing. Some projects for the farm, the biogas. The biogas, we need 2 tanks to make the biogas waste fertilizer ready. And about $1,300 puts those 2 tanks on ground with a base to get them up high enough to do what they need to do. Drip irrigation is always one of the things that is a quick, easy project. It's about $1,500. But when you think about drip irrigation, I'm talking about an acre of drip irrigation. We're trying to keep the water out of the air and keep it closer to the ground to eliminate some evaporative properties. And then greenhouses, 2 greenhouses. We grow some peppers that the birds really like. And the peppers really are a cash crop for the area. It's a capsicum type of pepper. A greenhouse is about $3,500. The biggest thing though, the projects are great, and we can always raise money for projects as we walk through things, but the need is kids' education. Running into fall and into the new year, college education is really the key. And sustainability at shelter is all about bringing enough money to shelter in all of the projects to take care of high school and below everything that happens at shelter. That's the goal. So then we're just raising money for big projects and college education. And eventually we're going to get into a mentor type of program because one of the things at the collegiate setting that we're seeing is when you've been raised with 200 brothers and sisters and you go off to college and it's you. So there's some growth things that are important that are going to begin to happen with some mentorship programs that the board of directors is looking at. But that's the update from Shelter. I hope to go this year. I hope to be back at Shelter by the end of December. We got huge things that Mary wants to do, and she's super blessed and super, super thankful. She can't thank everybody that's donated time, money, energy, communication. She is just overwhelmed with the blessings that this group and others provide. So